am Larry Goldman, the Executive Director of the Washington Theological Consortium, and I want to welcome you on behalf of the consortium of 10 graduate theological schools in Christian traditions and our interfaith partners in Islamic and Jewish and spirituality studies. We are delighted that you can be with us in person here tonight. You have a great deal of treats, including a book drawing, which we will explain later, and a lovely reception, which we hope you will stay for and enjoy. Those of you who are online, we welcome you as well. If I knew how to slip you a shrimp cocktail over the video, I would, but I can't. So we'll miss you in person, but are delighted you can be with us in our virtual audience. We are very pleased and delighted to have the Howard University School of Divinity hosting us tonight, and to welcome you on behalf of the School of Divinity here. I would like to invite the Associate Dean of Academic Affairs, Dr. Fred Ware.
Good evening. Welcome. If this is your first time, if you are returning, welcome back to Howard University here at the West Campus, where we are at the School of Divinity. Howard University School of Divinity has a very long and impressive history of ecumenism and interfaith relations. And we are one of the very few theological schools in the United States that has a tenured professor in Islamic studies, and we're very glad for the great contributions that Dr. Al-Alwani has made to enrich our studies here at the School of Divinity, not only for students here at the Divinity School itself, but reaching farther out into the main campus, departments there in African studies, in language studies, history, and those students are benefited by the offerings that she has here at the school. And those who are even preparing for Christian ministry, their understanding is broadened by having these lessons and training in ecumenical dialogue. We're looking forward to a very great lecture this evening, and welcome and enjoy the activities that we have planned on this evening.
Thank you very much, Dean Ware. This is the 12th annual Al-Alwani lecture in Muslim Christian dialogue. This is in honor of Dr. Taha Al-Alwani, who is a dear colleague of many people in this area and in this room. And we're delighted tonight to have the grandson of Sheikh Taha with us, Ali Al-Talib, to say a few words.
Bismillah. Identity, identity, my grandfather yelled at the top of his failing lungs as my brother walked into his room at the ICU in Al-Safa Hospital in Cairo. He was referring to the American Muslim identity. It was a recurring topic that Jiddo, my grandfather, always brought up every time my siblings and I visited him. It was clearly an issue that was near and dear to his heart and his lungs, considering he brought it up literally when he had few seconds to speak before they put the ventilator back on his mouth. He didn't want us to let those conversations slip away, like the hemoglobin count in his blood cells. This isn't surprising, considering that Jiddo was always a man on a mission. Every conversation with him was a dars, or a lesson, and every topic was filtered through the Quran and the Sunnah of our beloved Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Regardless of the worldly status, he treated everyone as an equal and a welcome partner in pursuit of proximity to the Almighty. On many occasions, he'd insist that we sit with him as he deliberated with his students from Al-Azhar University. And we kept asking, like, who are we to be sitting among such a revered group of scholars? I witnessed him brag about America, its values, and the Constitution, and the freedoms and the ideals for Muslims to thrive as a beacon of light for Islamic thought around the world in America. I never felt prouder to be an American Muslim. I never felt prouder to be an American Muslim than when I was standing next to him, really. He harped on the concept of ta'aruf and repeatedly quoted the Quran, Surah Al-Hujarat, Ayah 13. O mankind, indeed we have created you from male and female and made you peoples and tribes that you may know one another. Indeed, the most noble of you in the sight of Allah is the most righteous of you. Indeed, Allah is knowing and acquainted. He pushed us to get to know our neighbors and allow them to also get to know us. He frequently warned us that God entrusted us with a message, and our duty as American Muslims was to understand the message and share it with our neighbors. If we fail to do so, then we risk becoming like the Muslims of Al-Andalus, Spain. So what was his perception of the Muslim identity? I can't really describe it better than his own words, which he wrote a few days before he was hospitalized for the last time. In translation, he said, I sanctify justice, celebrate freedom, and honor humanity. While demonstrating gentleness with the weak, I remind the strong that there is always someone who is stronger than them. I advise the rich to fulfill the rights of the poor, while I remind the poor that the rich among them have been entrusted with God's wealth to fulfill the rights of the poor. I love goodness and gentleness and reject evil. I invite to piety and reject violence. I cling to the rope of guidance and uphold the truth. I fight lies and deceit and forbid corruption. I seek reconciliation to the extent possible. I yearn for peace and despise war. I love humility and strive for a good life. Death signals, yet I believe that this is a bridge I must cross, to cross from a fleeting life to one that is eternal. I desire the best ending and seek refuge in God from the contrary. I love heaven and detest hellfire. I seek security and hate instability. I hate authoritarianism, dictatorship, autocracy, and compulsion. I am not profane, destructive, nor corrupt. My lineage extends to Adam and Eve, for Adam is my father and Eve is my mother. All of humanity are my sisters and brothers. I do not disdain, betray, nor humiliate a single human being. Rather, I work to guide human beings, light their path, and walk with them along the path to paradise. I seek to be a roadblock between them and falling into hellfire. I love the universe and belong to it. I love all of my neighbors in the universe, including its trees, plants, rocks, animals, mountains, and rivers. God, most majestic, has created me from this earth. To this earth he will return me, and from this earth he will restore me once again. To this earth I belong, and for its cultivation I call. My desire is to raise and elevate the truth. My goal is to spread peace and security in it. My means is to struggle with my own soul in order for peace to be realized and security to prevail. I invite to God, to whom is my ultimate return. Peace is my objective. Security is my desire. Terrorism is my enemy. Conflict is my adversary. Inner peace is my pursuit. Do you recognize me? Do you know anyone on this earth who parallels this description? I am Muslim. And just to give you guys a kind of picture of how this all unfolded within just a few weeks, Prophet Joseph, he would make a dua for a good ending. A dua is a prayer. And he would say, O creator of the heavens and the earth, you are my patron in this world and the hereafter. Make me die in a state of submission to you and admit me amongst the righteous. And we also say a dua, Allahumma inni أسألك حسن الخاتمة, which means, oh Allah, I ask you for a good ending. And my grandfather, as I was thinking of what to say here, I recalled that last, few weeks of his life. And I remember on my mom's birthday, actually, February 13th, 2016, we came over to her house for brunch. And while we were celebrating, she got a call. And the call said that he's being transferred to the hospital because he was sick. So I remember booking her that flight, going on Expedia, finding the next flight, and booking it for her on her birthday. I felt so bad, it was her birthday. He got better, and then he got worse, and the cycle continued for several days. We would know his vitals, his hemoglobin count, and all these other medical terms that no non-medical professional should know. Eventually, the family decided to charter a medical plane to bring him back from Egypt to Virginia, where we live. And my mom flew back on a commercial flight, and my uncle, he flew back with my grandfather on that plane, that chartered plane. And they had to stop in Shannon, Ireland to refuel. And that's where he took his last breath. We got the news while my mom was mid-flight, and I immediately cut off her service so that she wouldn't get all these texts and calls when she lands and no one from her family is next to her. So as soon as she laid her eyes on us, she knew. And we held her, and she just collapsed. And we had to get her a wheelchair and take her to the ER, and everything was a daze after that. But we had to work out logistics for the funeral arrangements, and his body sat in a freezer for a couple days until we figured it all out. But the day of his burial, we met at the funeral home, me, my brothers, a couple of my cousins. We were tasked with doing ghusl, and my father. And ghusl is what we do as Muslims when someone passes away. We clean their body, we wash their body, and we do a final ablution, which is wudu. And I was so scared of what my mother would see, because that was the last time she was going to see his face, and he wasn't in that state that I wanted him to be in when she saw him for the last time. His body was stiff, cold, unmovable, and he had gone through several sessions of dialysis and other things prior to that. And he still had a tube in his mouth. Luckily, my cousin was a doctor, and he was able to get it out really quick, and we just followed the imam's steps of how to do the ghusl. And we were just robotic, like our hearts couldn't connect to it because we just had to get it done. But then immediately after we completed that final step, which is the wudu, the ablution, the imam that was doing it said, "Subhanallah, look at our sheikh. He's smiling and he's being welcomed by angels." And literally when we all looked, he was smiling from ear to ear. And I couldn't believe it, because it's not scientifically plausible to do that after, several days of being in a freezer. And as soon as I saw his face, all of my anxiety of my mom seeing him, it went away. And I couldn't wait for her to see him, because you could see his teeth in the smile. And I have like a picture to prove it. But it was such a huge loss for us. But I realized he was being put in a place in the surroundings of angels. So I just wanted to share that piece where, not only did he live a life of servitude to the world around him in this dunya, but he was really happy as he was welcomed by angels when it was his time to go. Thank you.
Thank you, Ali. Also, in honor of Sheikh Taha Al-Alwani, we have a certificate of studies in the consortium in Muslim-Christian dialogue. And tonight we want to award that certificate to someone who has earned it through his studies. And to offer this certificate, I would like to invite the director of the certificate program, Dr. Salih Sayilgan, who is a professor at Georgetown University, to come forward.
Good evening, everybody. Assalamu alaikum and peace be with you all. So the certificate is actually one of the oldest program in the DC area. It has one of the oldest and the most consistent. I mean, what is distinctive about the certificates? We empower the seminarians, the part of this consortium schools, not just with theological skills, but also practical skills when they go to serve the communities, so that they have these skills, especially in the context of interfaith dialogue. And many seminarians, they actually made the certificate program as part of their call. So tonight I am very pleased to award Alex Parker with a certificate. So Alex is enrolled in a dual program between American University and Wesley Theological Seminary. So his MA degree one is at the American U in conflict resolution, and then he will receive his degree from Wesley in May, and then he plans to continue the work of interfaith studies and dialogue. So I am very pleased that he is at this stage. Please, Alex, can we invite you to?
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations. Yes. So we have another award in absentee for Catherine Middleton. Catherine is a PhD candidate at Catholic Universities in the School of Theology and Religious Studies. So she was not able to join us in person, but we are very pleased also to have her certificate, right? We make sure that she will receive it, right, Larry? You have it. Okay, right.
We'll get to her.
Yes. And finally, I mean, if there is, if there is anything really to honor the legacy of, great Sheikh scholar Taha Al-Alwani, is really this certificate. It's like with this program to foster relationships where people, they can build bridges, and together to deal with our challenges, Christians and Muslims together. And also so in this sense, I want to thank the Al-Alwani family for making this happen, for supporting this to this day. I want to thank Larry and his team really for really emphasizing, prioritizing the program. And I also want to acknowledge Dr. Richard Jones, for former Al-Alwani chair of the consortium, because he has been very instrumental from the beginning. And thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you.
Now, to introduce our main speaker, I'd like to invite Dr. Zainab Al-Alwani, the professor of Islamic Studies here at Howard, to come forward.
Assalamu alaikum, peace be upon you, and welcome to Howard University. And this is, even for my family, I think this is the first time you came to our place, and this is our community. Welcome to also Dr. Saleh. Thank you for coming, Dr. Jones, and all my colleagues and here, and thank you for everyone. Thank you for our students. Today is a very special day, and also our speakers are very special, because we have, for Dr. Jimmy Jones, of course, I told them both that you have their bio, but maybe you don't know about our relationships with both of them. So Dr. Jimmy Jones, he's been my mentor for a while. I don't know how many years. You don't have to say. Maybe since 1990. And his relationship with my father, of course, it went back to when he was in CIS, which is Islamic Social Sciences. At that time, I remember how much my father was so happy to receive him and his wife and the students in Egypt when they took a group of students. I don't know if you remember or not, but this is one of the memory of my father, how much he was happy, Dr. Jimmy Jones bringing the group of students to Egypt and welcome them there. Dr. Jimmy Jones also, he's someone who I learned a lot from his journey of building the seminary. This is TISA, and this seminary is his baby. And I have been working with him and Dr. Iqbal and many others. And this, it teaches us, as long as you have a clear objective and goal, you just maybe it takes time to achieve and to fulfill this goal. But as long as you know you will achieve this, that's what you have to work on. So, and also Dr. Jimmy Jones, really, his experience, his long experience with African American communities, with Muslim communities. I always go back to him to ask him whenever the challenges that we have. And when we used to go to Yale for the conference, I found myself among so many people, students, old and young, surrounding him, seeking his advice and seeking his love. Because this person will introduce maybe the intellectual part of his experience, but I wanted just to let you know about Dr., and this is just a small thing because I have so many stories about it, but we want all of us to just to listen to his speech today and his experience with building Islamic seminary in America. Thank you for coming.